What's up guys, welcome back to another trade recap video for October 3rd, 2024. Had a pretty good day. It was an interesting day in terms of price action, so let's get right into the pre-market plan. Alright, so let's take a look at ES here, and then we'll take a look at NQ. So right off the bat, at 3 a.m. we did test these previous day lows and bounced off of it. And then Tuesday and yesterday, we rejected this 5784 level all the way to 5772, yesterday's highs, where we found some nice selling off of that, right? So essentially we were bouncing off of support and resistance basically in this small range, and overnight the price was a bit bullish. You could see this trend here that was created overnight, and we did open up right in the middle of this range, right? So from what I've seen, when we do open up in the middle of the range, price tends to follow in the direction that the overnight direction was already going in, right? That's kind of what I've seen. So I was a little bit bullish leading into the day. My ES bullish plan was from 5731, which is these overnight lows, to 5723, which is yesterday's lows. So since bulls defended here overnight, I was basically looking for ways to play long, targeting previous day high at 5772. And my bearish plan was basically just looking for a rejection off the range highs from 5772, yesterday's highs, to 5784, anywhere in between there. And then we also had news at 9:45 and 10, and news was the PMI composite and then ISM services index at those respective times. So just something to be aware of. So let's take a look at NQ real quick just to go over that plan, because it's very similar to ES as well, right? So just like ES, we are in a range that was created from yesterday and Tuesday. So the top of the range being 20.087 to the lows of yesterday and Tuesday at 19.820. So my bullish plan was to basically watch 19.852 to 19.819 previous day lows to the London lows, the overnight lows. As long as this area holds, look for ways to play long, targeting the highs of yesterday at 20.071. And my bearish plan was basically just a rejection off the range highs at 20.040 to 20.085, right, which is the London highs and yesterday's highs. So let's jump into my actual trade that I took on ES. Alright, so looking at ES here on the 1 minute, we opened up right in the middle of the range, and like I said before, I like to basically go in the direction that the overnight trend is established in. So if it's bullish, I'm going to look for ways to play long, especially with my area of interest being supported by the bulls overnight at 5730 and yesterday's lows at 5723. So looking specifically around, I would say from 9:45 to 9:53. We did have news at 9:45, and then we had news at 10. I've said this before, I don't like taking trades prior to news because it becomes very volatile and it's sort of 50-50, but there are times where a setup occurs prior to news. And if there is any time that I do see that, if my setup does occur, I'm going to take it regardless of if there's news or not. So today was that exception, and I want to show you guys exactly on the footprint why I took the trade, because just looking at candlesticks won't give you, I mean, you could see the absorption and what I was seeing on the footprint just through candles, but it's a lot easier looking at the order flow because you could see the orders that are coming into the market. So let's take a look at that, and I'll sort of narrate exactly what was going on, where I entered and where I exited. Alright, so this is the footprint chart on a software called MotiveWave, which I really like because of all the customization options you can do. You could also use Sierra, and there's a bunch of other tools that also offer footprints as well. So This is a live recording from today, just to show you guys how I use footprints to assist with my strategy, and it is also sped up. So we'll be basically looking at price action from 9:50 a.m. onwards. And what I want you guys to do is focus on the candle that is currently moving, which is going to be this one right here, and then any subsequent candles that appear on the footprint. Pay attention to the delta volume on this right side here. So the delta is basically the difference between the sellers and the buyers. The red is the sellers and the blue is the buyer. All right, here we go. So lots of selling coming in below 5742. And below. Another thing I want you guys to pay attention to is this volume box and this delta box, basically showing all the transactions between, all the data of transactions between the 5 price points we are currently trading in. So 21k volume and then negative 1100 delta, which is a lot. So in a few seconds here, you'll see an attempt to break low of day, and this next candle is my confirmation candle and my exact reason of why I got into this trade. And boom, right? So that's the attempt to get below 5740. Right, sellers are trying, and I all the aggressive selling that's coming in at the lows. Right, they're trying. And negative 1200 delta right there. And we still can't break below the lows. And the candle eventually closes bullish. So let me pause here and explain what I was seeing. So when you have all these aggressive sellers hitting the lows of the market, but they can't even break low of day or push price further to the downside, you know, why is that, right? You got to ask these questions while you're looking at these footprints in the moment of where price is moving, right? Why can't we move any lower when you have all these aggressive sellers entering the market? Essentially, this is called absorption, right? So when you have a bunch of people trying to buy or sell and price doesn't budge, someone on the opposite side is absorbing all those orders, and there's a probability that price will reverse exactly as we saw here, right? So you'll see in a little bit here, I make my entry. I have my finger on the trigger. Waiting just a little bit. And there's my entry, right? At 5744.50, I set my stop losses to 5740, risking about 4 points. And then setting my targets, right? So 5773, and then high of day from today at 5753. So at this point, I'm just sort of just watching the chart, watching the footprint. I wasn't in drawdown. I was in drawdown for a couple of seconds and then was out of it. So I'm just managing the trade at this point, right? I'm already up a good 6 points. Just making sure everything is good. And the other thing is that we have news at 10 a.m. Right? So that's just something that I keep in my mind. But like I said before, there are some occasions where the setup occurs prior to news, and you could sort of use that volatility that comes into the market in your advantage if it does go your way. Remember, this is sped up, so it's a little bit slower in real time. And there it is. There's my first PT that's hit. I'm adjusting my stop loss for my runners. And we're pushing up. 2 minutes till, or 1 minute till news. Alright, so 30 seconds until news, and pay pay attention to what happens when news hits. This is why I hate trading during news, but if my setup is there, I'm going to take it. Alright, so look, my footprint basically froze for a second, and look at that volatility that's coming in, right? Just absolutely insane. But no need to freak out. I do have a great entry, so I'm not worried. I already did hit my first target. And I'm basically using this volatility in my advantage, right? Seeing what I saw at the lows with all that aggressive selling, not being able to sell off lower. I was actually thinking about exiting, but I'm going to continue following my plan. There was a few times you could see me put my mouse over the flatten all button, but I did not. This is just one of the things that comes with trading news. It's very volatile and becomes, 50-50. And this is a rare occasion. But you can make some pretty good profit if it does go your way. In a bit here, you'll see me close my position at 5763. And there's a key reason why I did that. It's because of where NQ was trading at that particular time, right? So I like to look at NQ when I'm trading ES, and I like to look at ES when I'm trading NQ. I want them to go into the same direction as my position, either bullish or bearish. So let's take a look at NQ and that analysis. Alright, so looking at NQ here on the left side, we could see that it was relatively stronger than ES. If we look at this 952 candle, we could see that ES was still testing near its lows at 952, while at 952 on NQ we were making new highs and rallying up, right? So in our pre-market plan, we determined that NQ and ES were both in a range. At the time that I exited my position at 10:02, NQ was actually breaking above its highs, right? And ES was nowhere near its range high. So in order for me to see higher prices on ES, NQ would actually have to sustain above its range high and continue rallying up. And for me, personally, what I like to do is when I see that, I'm always gonna bet against the weaker side that it won't sustain. This allows me to not get greedy, and it allows me to basically manage myself and my emotions. And in this case, when I saw that, I decided, I was like, you know what, NQ's at its range high. What are the chances that we're going to continue higher? So I took off my ES position around 10:02. I could have held it for a little bit longer, but then as you could see, NQ did not sustain above its range high and actually sold off very aggressively, similar to what ES did around at 10:12. So that's what I like to do. I do use NQ to manage my position on ES, and I do use ES to manage any positions that I take on NQ. So let's actually take a look at TradeZilla to show you my exact trade, my executions, and my P&L. Alright, so looking at my trade here, my net P&L was $227.50. I traded 3 MES contracts. My entry was at 5744.50 with a stop loss of 5740, so risking 4 points. And my entry time was at 9:54 a.m. My executions, I took one off at high of day at 5753, and then I took the remainder 2 off at 5763. So overall, a great trade, a quality trade, had all my confirmations that I was looking for, and it was a really good day. So if you guys like the trade recap, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will catch you in the next one. See ya.